Welcome to today's episode of Classic Gent. Today we're going to be focusing on the Vesper Martini, how it's made, and where it originated. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. We are here for a second episode of the Classic Gent. Today's cocktail is going to be the Vesper Martini. First time I was introduced to it is by my brother David. Very nice of him to offer me that. We set up a kind of a guys' night. We invited a bunch of people. We had a whole bunch of charcuterie, which is just phenomenal. I had gifted him a bunch of stuff for, I think it was Christmas, maybe his birthday, but we ended up sitting down and no one but me and him showed up, which was okay because we had a huge spread of food and he decided to put on Casino Royale. We sat down, we enjoyed the food, and he decided to make me what he called the Vesper Martini, which I was not familiar with. When I first heard what he was going to make me, I was a little concerned because I'm a vodka person. Gin, I wouldn't say turns me off, but everyone's got their liquors, like tequila. It just makes me crazy, and this makes me crazy. Well, I would say gin makes me crazy. It just seems to get me a little bit tipsier than normal. So when he said he was going to mix vodka and gin, I felt that was a collision of two different worlds. So I wasn't certain about it, but when he served it, it was phenomenal. So I actually ended up having 3 that night, and it was quite delicious. So it's funny the way this came about because it's not a cocktail necessarily created by a bartender. It's actually created by Ian Fleming, the novelist who wrote the James Bond films. So he came up with this one in 1953. It was for Casino Royale. If you've seen the film, you've seen Daniel Craig actually order the drink, which was interesting because he never called it by any name. He just ordered it.
Dry martini.
Oui, monsieur.
Wait. 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of quinoa lily, shake it over rice, and then add a thin slice of lemon peel.
Yes, sir.
You know, I'll have one of those.
So will I.
Certainly.
My friend, bring me one as well. Keep the fruit.
It's not actually called Vesper Martini until the next chapter, which is pink, light, and champagne. So really interesting. He actually meets Vesper Lind in that novel, and he asks her to use her name to name the cocktail. It's very interesting. So the Vesper Martini has 3 ingredients to it. There's the gin, right? Let's get out our shaker full of ice, right? It's 3 measures of gin, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in here. 3 measures of gin. What else do I have here? We've got 1 measure of vodka. I will remind you guys again, I am not a bartender. I never worked as a bartender. I just like classic drinks, and I like the idea of the classic cocktail. So when you see me using bottles like this, it's because I'm making a lot of drinks, and again, I'm not making 100 drinks at a time, so I know you guys like the idea of having smaller bottles. You can flip them around a little more, but for me, this works for the purpose of what we're doing here. We're going to do 1 measure of vodka, and a half measure of the Lillet Blanc, which is in the same family as a vermouth, right? We're not going to go into it too much today. We already wanted to kind of give background on the James Bond story, so that's why we're going to leave this to the next episode, talking a little bit more Lillet Blanc, mainly for the purpose of kind of giving you an idea of what it's about, why we're using this versus something else. Traditionally, there's some things that were used that we don't use today. Like, I still like this 50 pounds gin I think it's a great quality product. It's affordable. It's not over the top. If you don't make gin drinks a lot, like I don't, it works. So as far as you being a connoisseur and wanting to actually sit down and just sip gin, buy the best you can. Buy what you can afford. The best cocktail, the best liquor is the one you're drinking. So enjoy it. And for that matter, that's why we don't use Gordon's. Gordon's comes in a plastic jug now. It might suit some people's needs, but spend a little bit more. You don't need a jug full of it. Just buy a 750 milliliter bottle of something decent for 25 bucks. Okay. I will give you a little background with this. It was not actually Lillet Blanc. It was Quina Lillet, and Quina Lillet had quinine liqueur in it, which made it more bitter. This is not as bitter. It's a little bit more subtle. The Lillet Blanc is interesting. It's a blend of 85% Bordeaux region grapes and 15% macerated liquors, and most of them are citrus. They have orange and lemon liqueurs coming out of Spain, and like I said, that blend together, that's what makes the Lillet. Okay, so we got our ingredients together. We will pop the top on. It was sitting again for a little bit. The lights are hot, so we won't shake it too long. And, of course, our garnish will be a lemon rind. Twist it up, pull a little twist to make it stay, and there you have it. You have a Vesper Martini from Casino Royale. I'd like to say again, thank you to Danny Reyes from Dream Realities for producing and editing this. He also shoots, and he's a one-man show, so he's been doing a lot of work when I just have to talk. And I'd like to thank David Reyes for inspiring me to make this video. He was very kind enough to make me my first Vesper Martini at his house. He has a great, wonderful bar with lots of liquor and tons of bourbon. And I'd like to thank the Rip Rocks bar that was built by my dad. Join us again. We enjoy you. Cheers. Okay, so the first time I had gin, I was with friends of mine. I don't know, I was young, just, met up with a group of guys, and they were from the suburbs, and I was from Chicago, and I don't know if they thought they were, like kind of thugs, but they were following along with a lot of rap groups. So what ended up happening is they're like, we want gin and juice. I'm like, okay. So I was working for a store at the time, had liquor. I was probably 18 or 19 years old. So I grabbed a gin. I drank the gin by itself. I could not stand gin and juice together. So that's probably what made me kind of be weary about it. We weren't completely plastic, but I certainly wasn't in a position where I wanted to be, because we were far up north in like Northbrook, Northfield, somewhere around there. And I think I ended up having my buddy drive me back, and it was just kind of a, altogether not good situation. But yeah, that was my first introduction to gin. Just, it just tasted like, I don't know, flowers. It was just interesting. Now I've gained a better appreciation for it, but during that instance, I ended up jumping out of a car in the middle of a park. So yeah. If you do drink responsibly and don't jump out of cars while you're drinking gin.